Comparing ancient civilizations, who was the smartest? We have been used to considering ourselves the pinnacle of evolution for too long, but what if our pride blinds us and prevents us from seeing the obvious? We look at the fragments of the past through the prism of our own technological superiority, forgetting that time knows how to erase even the most majestic achievements of human genius. Modern man is convinced that his smartphone is the crown of creation. However, ancient architects possessed knowledge that causes our best engineering minds to fall into a deep stupor. Let us cast aside school textbooks and try to look behind the thick curtain of centuries to understand who actually dictated the rules of the game in this grand theater of world history. Intelligence is not the number of gigabytes transmitted per second, but the ability to understand the fundamental laws of the universe and to weave one's will into the fabric of reality without destroying everything living around it. We will begin our journey in Mesopotamia, where the scorching sands hide cities whose age is measured in many millennia, and where the very idea of an organized human society was born. The ancient Sumerians appeared as if from nowhere, bringing with them a baggage of knowledge that seems excessive for simple farmers of that time. Their mathematical system was based on the number 60, and we still use their legacy when we divide an hour into 60 minutes or a circle into 360 degrees. Just think, why exactly 60? This number possesses incredible flexibility in division and allows for the most complex calculations without the use of decimal fractions. Sumerian astronomers described the movement of planets with striking accuracy, which is impossible to see without powerful modern telescopes. They knew about the existence of distant celestial bodies and understood the cycles of the precession of the Earth's axis, which last 25,920 years. A logical question arises as to how a civilization that had barely mastered bronze could operate with such colossal time periods and mathematical abstractions. Their legal codes and social hierarchy were so well thought out that modern legal systems seem like only a pale shadow of those ancient institutions of justice. The Sumerians did not just survive in harsh conditions, they designed reality based on a deep understanding of the harmony of numbers and the starry sky. When we turn our gaze to the banks of the Nile, a mystery of an even more monumental scale rises before us. The Egyptian civilization left behind objects that physically should not exist if we believe the official version of history about copper chisels and papyrus ropes. The Great Pyramid at Giza is oriented to the cardinal points with an error that is only a tiny fraction of a degree.
Such accuracy is unattainable without the use of advanced geodetic methods and complex optical instruments, which the Egyptians supposedly did not have. The internal chambers of the pyramids are lined with huge granite blocks weighing tens of tons, and they are fitted to each other so tightly that it is impossible to insert even a thin razor blade between them. We still cannot explain with full certainty how they lifted these colossi to such a huge height and why they required such incredible mathematical precision. The Egyptians possessed the deepest knowledge in medicine and anatomy, performing complex operations on the brain and eyes, the results of which amaze modern surgeons. Their writing was not just a set of pictures, but a complex, multi-level system of transmitting meanings, where each symbol carried a phonetic, ideographic, and sacred meaning. Perhaps their intelligence was directed not at creating external crutches in the form of machines, but at developing the internal abilities of a person and understanding the subtle connection between matter and spirit. Far to the east, in the Indus River Valley, the civilization of Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro flourished, which offered the world a completely different model of intelligent coexistence. While other nations erected magnificent palaces for their rulers, the inhabitants of the Indus Valley focused on creating an ideal urban environment for every citizen. Their cities were built according to a strict grid plan, with a thoughtful ventilation system and the world's first centralized sewage system. Each house had access to clean water and a waste disposal system, which ensured a level of hygiene that Europe reached only thousands of years later. It is surprising that during the excavations of these cities, archaeologists find practically no weapons or images of wars and great conquerors. This suggests that their intelligence was directed at social engineering and maintaining a stable peace for many centuries. They developed a standardized system of weights and measures that was used over a vast territory, which testifies to the highest level of economic integration and trust. The inhabitants of the Indus Valley proved that true intelligence manifests itself in the ability to organize the life of society so that each of its members feels safe and comfortable. If we cross the ocean and find ourselves in the jungles of Mesoamerica, we will encounter the phenomenon of the Maya people, whose intellectual achievements in the fields of mathematics and astronomy seem almost supernatural. The Maya independently arrived at the concept of zero long before it became known in the Old World, which allowed them to operate with infinitely large numbers. Their calendar system was more accurate than the Gregorian calendar we use today and allowed for the calculation of solar eclipses thousands of years into the future and the past.
They knew about the synodic period of Venus with an error of only a few seconds, which requires continuous observations over many generations. Maya architecture was closely linked to their cosmology, where each building served as a giant astronomical instrument for recording equinoxes and solstices. At the same time, the Incas in South America reached incredible heights in the field of plant genetics and engineering in high-altitude conditions. They turned wild weeds into hundreds of varieties of potatoes and corn, ensuring the food security of a huge empire in the harshest climatic zones. The Incas built roads and bridges across deep gorges that still stand today, demonstrating a deep understanding of the strength of materials and material science. Comparing these great cultures, we begin to understand that the intelligence of the ancients was multifaceted and adapted to their unique challenges and worldview. The Sumerians gave us logic and the structure of time, the Egyptians showed the power of stone and the precision of engineering thought, and the inhabitants of the Indus Valley taught us social order. The Maya and Incas demonstrated how one can reach the heights of abstract thinking and biological manipulation without the use of metal tools and the wheel. Who among them was the smartest in this endless competition of minds through space and time? The answer may lie in the fact that each of these civilizations mastered its own aspect of reality, which we are only beginning to rediscover today. We are used to measuring progress by the amount of energy consumed and the complexity of our gadgets, but the ancients measured it by harmony with the cosmos and the durability of their ideas. Perhaps true intelligence lies not in conquering nature, but in becoming its conscious and creative part. The tragedy of our time is that we consider ourselves smarter than our ancestors only because we stand on their shoulders and use the fruits of their discoveries. If electricity and the internet disappeared tomorrow, how many modern people will be able to calculate the sowing time by the stars or build a reliable dwelling from natural materials? Ancient civilizations possessed holistic knowledge where science, art, and religion were inextricably linked into a single picture of the world. We have fragmented our knowledge into narrow disciplines, losing at the same time the general vision and meaning of our existence. Each of the mentioned cultures was brilliant in its own way, solving problems that today seem unsolvable to us without the help of computers. Their intelligence was alive, plastic, and deeply rooted in reality, while our mind is increasingly going into virtual worlds and abstract models. Ultimately, the question of who was smarter remains open because the evaluation criteria are constantly changing along with human history itself.
If intelligence is measured by the ability to leave behind a legacy that will stir minds 5,000 years later, then the Egyptians and Sumerians certainly lead. If, however, intelligence is the ability to create a just and peaceful society, then we should learn from the builders of Mohenjo-Daro. We need to stop treating the past as a primitive childhood of humanity and start perceiving it as a treasury of lost technologies and deep wisdom. The true greatness of the ancients lay in the fact that they knew how to ask the right questions of the universe and receive answers to them, which we are still trying to decipher. We are only continuing this great dialogue, hoping that someday our intelligence will allow us to equal those who built the pyramids and read destinies by the stars. Our path is not yet complete, and perhaps the main discoveries that will confirm the genius of our ancestors still await us ahead under layers of earth and in the depths of the oceans. We must be prepared for the fact that our idea of ourselves as the most intelligent civilization may be destroyed by another archaeological discovery. This is the beauty of the search for truth, which always turns out to be more complex and more majestic than any of our boldest assumptions. The final verdict will be delivered only by time, which is the only objective judge for all human achievements. We can only admire that flame of reason that burned in the hearts of those who lived long before us and paved the way to the stars. Each new generation must rethink this experience anew so as not to lose the connection with the origins and not to turn into a civilization of oblivion. Only in this way can we hope that our own intellectual legacy will be worthy of the memory of our distant and wise predecessors.